Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Reezy Talks. I'm your host, Reezy Resells, and today I'm here with Kev Blackburn, aka Life Success Engineer. Kevin is a UK-based Amazon seller. So we're going to learn a lot today about selling on Amazon in the UK. We're going to learn about Kev, his journey, all that good stuff. You can check him out at lifesuccessengineer.com. What is up, Kevin Blackburn?
I'm super excited to be here, Reezy. Good to be with you.
How was the intro? Did I give you a good intro?
Yeah, it was amazing. Thank you very much. I think you missed maybe the massive action bit.
Oh, take massive action every day. So yeah, make sure you take massive action and make sure you go check. I got the website right. I figured we'll start it off with a quick plug. So I always appreciate having my guests. So I got to give them something back in return. So, Kev, let's real quick before we just derail the conversation like I always do. What were your gross sales on Amazon for 2018?
Wow, great question right off the bat. I don't actually have that figure off the top of my head right now.
You son of a... No, I'm just kidding. So what about like last month? Gross sales, just something I just like to quantify people, it's like I feel like when I don't ask people this question, then there's like these audience members that are like, yeah, this guy's advice is bullshit, he probably sells like $12 a month, why should I listen to him? So I figured we'll just make it inarguable about why people should listen to you, and money is the language that everyone speaks. So
yeah, and that's just the world that we live in. But I guess allow me just to share what I've sort of done since 2015 and just share my story, and then we can get straight to it, shall we?
Take your time. Let's get into it.
Yeah, so my name's Kev. I've got a young family, father of two, and in 2015 I was an electrical engineer. And I came across Amazon.
Did you go to college for that?
I did, yes. I became a father with my partner, Kylie, at 19 years old. And I was like, what am I going to do? I need to create a living. So I decided to sign up for an electrical apprenticeship and got a degree in electrical engineering until I became an engineer in January of 2015. And then I discovered Amazon.
And that was your primary source of income at the time?
Yes, absolutely.
What was your wife working too?
Yeah, she was a hairdresser.
Okay.
Yeah.
But at that time, did you acquire debt going to the college program?
No, well, fortunately, I went through an electrical apprenticeship, so they actually paid for everything, nice. Although I obviously owed them. Okay, right. So the thing is for me was when I discovered Amazon in the June of 2015, I'd been an engineer for 6 months. And then after I discovered Amazon, I went absolutely all in with online arbitrage. We sold about 6,000 gross in the first month, continued ramping up my business. I started hiring virtual assistants. And then in the December of 2015, I'd sold just over £100,000 worth of products. I got over £36,000 in 30 days. And I quit my job after sort of 6 months on Amazon. Just went all in, burnt my boat.
I've heard your story a little bit before, but this was the point when your house was like a fire hazard because you have boxes all over the place and you're tripping over incoming and outgoing FBA packages and all that stuff, right?
Exactly. So the thing that happened with me, unfortunately here, the steel industry, the plant that I was working at, they basically told us that a plant was going to be made redundant. And that was really the moment where I thought, I've got to find an opportunity because we can't rely long term.
Wow. I didn't know that. So that was the burning of your boats right there.
Yeah, right there.
If that wouldn't have happened, you would have still stayed you were comfortable?
No, I wouldn't say that. I've always been interested in building a business, especially online, but it was always looking for that opportunity. And that's when I came across online arbitrage, I thought this was no, it was actually a friend of mine. Basically how it worked was I actually started off on eBay. So we did, do you know The Apprentice with Lord Alan Sugar?
Yes.
Yeah, so the apprentice, we did an apprentice challenge where there was this one episode where he basically said, "You've got £10." We, as a family, we said, "We've got £10. Let's go and see if we can buy some products and sell for more money."
So
And
you
that's
went to
what
the car boot sale or what?
I ended up going to Sue Ryder, which is a charity store, and I bought books. Believe it or not, I bought some books. I bought some porcelain birds. Sorry, they were like 90 pence each, a pound each. And I wanted to, they looked really expensive because they had like a signature, had like a date, and I ended up selling them on eBay for about uh, £12. So I made a good £10 on each. So
Okay.
that was my, so that was my first introduction into reselling online. But the problem with that, because I was working full time, I was at the steelworks. It wasn't great to come back with a young family. Harper was only 6 months at the time. Then I had to bubble wrap, and I had to go take it to the post office to send to the customer. And that's
Right.
when a friend said to me, "Well, why don't you try Amazon FBA?"
And
And
then
that was it.
the clouds just parted and it was like, hallelujah.
That was it. That was it. I was like, wow. Well, if I could sell, if I could find 1,000 of these birds, at the time I didn't realize you could just go to maybe retail stores. We could do some online sourcing, and that was it. I was absolutely all in. So I began sourcing every single day. I'd finish work as an engineer, um, and I'd get home on the computer just sourcing day in and day out until I got my first virtual assistant in the August, so 2 months
So
later.
during this period, that was probably a stressful period, right? Just sourcing day in and day out. And you were still working at the time. So you either were doing this before you went to work, or maybe at lunchtime and not eating, or maybe at dinner time and not eating with your family, or eat dinner with the family and then stay up extremely late and miss a lot of sleep for work. So how was
I
that
did.
digging into in which ways was that digging? Because a lot of people would probably say, I can't do this. I don't have the time. And so what was it like during those periods?
I did nothing but work as an engineer, and then just work on this every single moment of the day.
So
I
like eating
would
dinner at your desk.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yep.
I was waking up early, so I'd start at around about 7:30 in the morning. I'd wake up at 5. I wouldn't go to sleep until 2, 3 a.m. I was literally going on like 3, 4 hours a night sleep. I
Right.
was
Which is
absolutely
not something I recommend, but you can do it. And if you want something greater than what you have in life, you gotta take some risks. You gotta give up something if you want to get something. And so I just think it's important. There's a lot. That's just one thing. Lack of time or sleep. Some people will say, I can't source where I live. There's nothing good. Other people drive 6 hours a day, 5 days a week to source. So if you want it, it's available, but it comes at a cost.
Of course, and the reality for me was, it was that urgency. I was very fearful of potentially losing my job, so I was absolutely all in. So I basically, on my dinner, I wouldn't read the newspaper and things anymore. I would. My partner Kylie, she started everything with me. She was on maternity leave because our daughter was only 6 months at the time. So which was great. It was huge for us both to do it, because I would be the one that's sourcing and she's the one that's doing all the prep and the boxing. So
Yep.
what would happen? All the deliveries would come in the morning. I would go home at dinner time and pick up the shipments to take to the UPS drop off point. And that really occurred. That was a continuous cycle for about 6 months until I handed my notice in early December.
Yeah, that's a huge, huge thing. Some people have partners or maybe even children that are old enough to actually help with the work. And maybe you can pay them a little bit or whatever, but every little asset you can get in the beginning is super important because like you said, your time is leveraged, you're stressed out, you're not sleeping very much, but the key to growing your business, and I would assume to growing a lot of stuff, is consistent effort, consistent. It's very important that you're not only receiving those products every day, but also shipping them out every day. And if people don't, operate their own business, especially if they've never been a solopreneur or whatever you want to call it, you don't understand that by yourself, it is a lot harder to keep going with the consistent effort, because things happen and you get set back, and then you have to fix that before you can keep going. And if you have a partner, they can fix that for you and you can just keep going. Or maybe you get so tired of shipping and buying that you just take 2 to 3 days off and that turns into a week. But if you have someone do this, someone do that, you can have a good balance in that.
100%. And leverage has been one of the fundamental things that's allowed myself and Kylie to do the things that we've done. Because if it wasn't for the team that we've built, if it wasn't for the virtual assistants that we have in the team, it just wouldn't have happened. So, the consistency of just, I wanted, my first goal was actually, I was just challenging myself really, really small at the really early days, was, could I just source £100 today? Could I just source £200 today?
Spending £100 or
spending.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, just spending £100 today, and that was like the small goals. I was in competition with myself. Really, I would say, can I find £200 worth of toys today? And I would. That was it. I would just continue to try sourcing the best way I could. But then I realized very quickly, and that's why I hired my first assistant in the August, was time is a huge bottleneck for us. And if I could just have a supply of products come in through a spreadsheet, through a virtual assistant, then that would help me focus in on purchasing more, because I wouldn't then have to go home to source more products. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. It's the bottleneck in my journey for like reselling and books and stuff. I realized it, at first it was just me. And then I was like, hey, Rosa, can you help me? So then I had my wife helping me. And then, then you can bring on, a friend to help or another family member, and you just start going on from there. But I didn't really fully realize the epiphany of all the different aspects until life forced me to do it by, like, I broke my foot once, or just various other factors, and being forced into it. And then just realizing, like, yeah, you can outsource it, and you can. And if you don't, you really literally just tread water. Like, no matter what you do with your business, if you don't continually outsource, you can't grow. And
Yeah,
if you're not growing in business, you're basically dying.
Yeah, I call it the online arbitrage rat race, where you've got a number of bottlenecks. You've either got time, you've got no time. You're trying to spend any amount of time in the day to build your business. You've got money. Money is a bottleneck for many people. I know it's certainly for me. I had no money. I was just trying to spend. I was actually negative when I first started. I was actually just trying to spend as much as I had available. Space soon very quickly became a bottleneck at home, because we were in our living room. We had our baby furniture everywhere. Our kitchen was really small, boxes in there. Our hallway was small as well, so boxes everywhere, as you know.
Right.
But,
Yeah. All of those bottlenecks are the things you have to take care of. And if you don't own a business or have never built one from the ground up, you won't understand it. But these are the things that you probably hate doing them, and they take a lot of your time, and they stop you from doing other things that certainly make you money. And you'll know it when you miss an opportunity to make money because you have to do something like shipping orders, which doesn't actually make you money. Yes, you have to actually ship the packages to the customers to fulfill the whole thing. But as soon as they're, sold, that's not so important, right? So focus on the thing like buying inventory. So if you have a big thing and you can't go to it because you're tired because you worked so hard in the previous week, maybe you need someone to help you so that you can, because that one day in our business, you never know it, but one day could make you a week's worth of profit or a month's worth of profit. Just one day there could be a sale, whether it's in real life or online, one product, one store, one website, one day. And because you passed out, because you didn't have help, because you racked yourself working so hard 12 days in a row before that, you missed out on the one day where you could have made, a month's worth of profit. And that's not worth it because it's just about consistency. So you need to learn to recognize those areas. You know what I mean? A lot of people they just keep doing the thing, but you have to understand you make your money when you buy. And so you need to buy more.
Yeah, and you need to increase what I call the multiple streams of sourcing profitable products. You need to have products coming into your business all the time, and I recognize that quite early on. So to go back to your earlier question, we ended up getting out into this warehouse about 12 months after we started. So we took the leap, we quit our jobs, we burnt our boats, and then we were out in the garden.
How
we were
big is
trying
your
to
warehouse?
2,000 square foot.
Nice. And what does that
So
cost in where are you at actually?
we're in the UK, North Lincolnshire. So the cost that we pay here is $620 a month.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's
That's
very,
great.
very good. It was a great find for us, and we needed to, because every day when we was working from home, our living room was totally full. We were out in the garden, and it was like, right, we found this warehouse. It was an opportunity that we just couldn't refuse. And we thought we were busy, but we walked into here, and it was just such a huge space. And I shared some stories on my Instagram literally
Right.
yesterday of just some how empty it was, and that's what really that just kicked us into gear. Like, this is real
Right.
now. It's like
This needs to start making me some money. What,
big time.
what was the driving factor for getting the warehouse more so? Was it your own personal stress from your living space being invaded, or was it the time you were losing from not being able to process products efficiently with the lack of space, like having to move shit twice, stuff like that?
Yeah, it was.
Or both.
Yeah, it was a combination between. We've got huge ambitions to have. Had an ambition to get out into a warehouse anyway, to make it into a business because we hired our first employee who came to home. That's where she was coming to work. She was coming to our house.
Right.
Amber still works with us this day, and we realized that if we're ever going to go on holiday, if we're ever going to have a business where we can have some time off, we don't want our employees coming home. So we needed to find a space, and I call it the vacuum effect. Like, we thought we were busy because we were like spilling out the house, but then when we first moved into the warehouse, we were only working next to the shut door, and this whole space was completely empty. And that's what really just makes you think at a different level. So we ended up passing £1 million worth of sales within about 18 months, and we're getting close to 3 million now. My target, I'm working toward 10 million. And since then,
total sales or annual?
In total sales.
Okay,
that's total
great.
sales. Yeah, since then we've expanded out into wholesale as well, and we just continue to build month on month. But it's not been easy, that's for sure.
So here's a random question. I don't know if you feel comfortable with this, but I see some products behind you on the shelf. Is this stuff that you're selling in your store?
These products here, well, we have, so a part of the business, we have a prep service in here as well. So there's multiple people's products here.
All right. Well, that answers the question. I was going to ask you if you wanted to share, or if you could share a couple products, for example. People always like that, but out of the question if that's not your stuff. So, so you do mostly online or all online arbitrage now?
All online arbitrage. Yeah.
Are you doing a little bit of wholesale or looking into that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We do wholesale too. Sorry. Yeah. We started going to trade shows. Sorry, I thought you was more referring to sort of retail arbitrage.
Right.
Yeah. We don't do any retail arbitrage at all. We only do online arbitrage. So we've got a full sourcing assistant team. We've got some senior assistants at this point. We basically have our sourcing assistants, our manual sourcing assistants. They source in different categories. So we've got virtual assistants. Yeah. So we have one in toys and games. We have one in groceries. We have one in health and personal care. We have one in electronics. And every day they are supplying us with products. We also use tactical arbitrage as well. And then I have my senior assistants. So my senior team, these are virtual assistants as well. But what they do is they review the products and then purchase the products. Okay,
So the same
so
people reviewing them are making the purchases. I guess that makes
yes.
sense. They've already looked at it.
Yeah, so we've tried to introduce like multiple layers of protection in business because I don't do any purchasing now. So
Right.
um,
So this is great. Let's dig into this. But before we dig into this, I just want to ask you a purchasing question because I struggle with this a lot myself. Um, I, what do you think is more valuable as a product? Something that sells a lot more units or something that sells a consistent amount of units but makes more profit? Like, what do you get more excited about? I'm not like an expert in online arbitrage by any means, but especially because I can't put a lot of time into it myself, what I've started to do is to favor the really high velocity products because, and sometimes they're high profit and sometimes they're not, but because I know, hey, at least I can get out of this quickly if I want to. Um, or you know what I mean? Or because I can buy 100 or 500 units and my thoughts are, I don't have a lot of time. I'm not going to buy 10 of this and 10 of that. That's not worth my time. You know what I mean? Um, at least that's the way that I'm going towards. So I'm kind of like just, I'm more selective because I want the ones that are just super fire and not necessarily in price, but in velocity. And I don't know if that's just me or if you do that too.
no, I mean a big thing for us. I focus in on the ability to replenish. I mean, replenishing is so important when it comes to online arbitrage because if, for example, if there's an offer on a particular window, if you have the opportunity to purchase 20 units at that time, but for whatever reason, you maybe have only purchased 5 units, and then you run out of those products, and then that offer's gone, then that's a learning experience where you could have actually purchased more. So you've sort of left some money on the table. So we're always looking at our
Right. And then
replenishing.
you're competing against the person who was smarter than you and did buy them at that price. And now they're not 50% off or whatever. And so you just have to know, hey, this is a good item. And hey, this has never been this cheap before, or it's never been cheaper than this.
Yeah, and that's how your team improves. Then you see, because we do a lot of tests in our business where, let's say, for example, we purchase 10 units of a product,
Mm-hmm.
and we're looking at how quickly did. So let's say we purchase for 6 weeks. We want to stay in stock for 6 weeks. Okay, but if that product becomes live and then we sell it within a week, that's a good learning experience where you can evolve as a team. You can think about, okay, one of the great exercise that I'd recommend for you guys that are watching this back is have a look at what you purchased maybe 4 weeks ago and see if you're still in stock. And if you're not still in stock, then that might have been an opportunity where you could have purchased more products.
Right. And you can do this. You can actually use the Amazon in stock emails to monitor this kind of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So when I first, my systems have evolved over time, but I used to use the checkbox for replenishable alerts. Do you know the
Mm-hmm.
replenish alerts?
Yep.
And I used to do that every Saturday to begin with, but those emails just got bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where it was just impossible to manage that because it would just take me hours. So what we started to do is develop like what we call these master spreadsheets. So in my replenishing spreadsheet, I've now got because I put everything on spreadsheets, and we now have the ability to, we've got our purchasing, so we document every single thing that we purchase, and then all our items that we may be running out of stock, we can then cross match in our spreadsheets to see very quickly where we got it from. And it will
Right.
look at our spreadsheet, it will look at how many sales we've had in the last 30 days, how many we've still got in stock now, and if we've got less in stock than we've had sales, then we immediately look to see whether we can replenish that. Does
Yeah.
that make sense?
Yeah. It sounds like it's probably being done automatically for you. You're actually just looking at what populates in that column and then seeing if you can still
Exactly.
get it. And seeing if it
Exactly.
and making sure the price is the same price, obviously. So
Yes.
ideally, what is your ideal sell through period? How, when you're ordering products, do you order enough for 30 days, 90 days, 120 days?
Yeah, we're looking at 90 days. That's
Okay.
our infantry health. So I think we discussed this the other day, Reezy. You've got to have an exit strategy for all your products. In terms of the inventory health, if for whatever reason you don't sell those items within the period that you set, then you're going to have to try getting your capital back. You're going to have to look at what you can do to get out.
Right. So let's dig into this. So you buy, let's give an example product. You have a product you paid, I don't know, $3 for, and you're going to sell it for, let's say, I don't know, $12 and make $6. I don't know, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And 90 days go by and you haven't sold very much, if any. What do you do now? Let's say, hold on a second. We're still good? Yeah, we're good. I just got a weird notification on my Zoom. Either way, we're still recording. So let's say you have the item and it just didn't go right. So now you're still sitting on it for various reasons. Not going to be because it doesn't sell, because if you buy properly, that shouldn't be the reason. Probably more likely because the price tanked. What do you do, and how? Like, what's the mechanical, technical rhyme and reason behind it, and how do you exit out of a product like that?
Yeah, so what we'll do is we're looking at all our items that are at 90 days. And at that point there, the first thing we do is look at where the buy box is and what that margin is for when we purchased it. So let's say, for example, do we have the buy box or not? It could be because our minimums
the price for the first 90 days from initial time.
Yeah,
okay.
We will have we use repricer. Okay, so our minimum is at 30%.
Okay.
So if, for example, let's say the buy box is, we look at all our products and we look at where the buy box is. The buy box may be at 15%. It may be at minus 30%. But we need to know where the buy box is to begin with.
Yeah, correct. So basically gun for the buy box, or however aggressive, as long as it's at least 30% return for us. And then when 90 days rolls around, what are we doing?
Exactly, yeah. So we're looking at, if, let's say, the product, the buy box is at 10%, we will lower our minimum to get that buy box, to get rid of that product. Okay. But there is a scenario, let's say the buy box is at 32%. So we've actually got the buy box, but we've just not sold the item. Maybe the demand's dropped off. Maybe something's changed. It's just not sold.
Yeah,
so
it could have had demand previously, but you overlooked something. New version came out maybe, or it was seasonal or whatever.
Exactly. So at that point there, just by lowering the minimum in repricer, it won't do anything. It'll just stay at that price. So at that point, we would then have to fix price it at maybe 10% to try lowering the buy box.
Right, okay? Because there's nothing to compete against. That's not why it's not selling.
Exactly. So that's what we'll do. And we have
generally so on that type of product, that's kind of like a bad egg, right? You had it, nothing happened, and you still can't sell it. At that point, you're not really trying to make any money at all. It's already a bad egg. You just want to get back what you can get back.
Absolutely. I mean, if I, let's say, for example, I put £10 into a product, if I could get £9 back, then it's the smart thing to do. Get £9 back to reinvest into a product that you could then sell for more money. So that
at what point would you consider? I mean, let's say if it's not get £9 back, it's get £3 back. It was a product you paid £10 for, and now it's 3 months later, and you just have too many products. You didn't maintain, whatever. Who knows why? But now, if you want to sell it, you can sell it, but you're going to lose $7 every time you sell one. What do you do?
Yeah. I mean, at that point, you've got to decide for yourself. But for us, we will not after 90 days, because we do this on a monthly basis after 30 days. Okay, so let's say, for example, you had 100 products, and then you take your first action. You may get rid of maybe 40 of those products, but then you maybe got 60 left after 30 days after that. So we will cut our ties and try selling it after a period of time afterwards, because I'd rather have the £3 back to reinvest back into a product.
And you could also try and play around a little bit, maybe put it down to where it sells really fast, and you sell, I don't know, half your stock or in a day, and then you put it up $4 or something, and try to play it where you lose money on some, but then you catch some higher price sales that make you break even for the ones you lost money on. Like a little, I don't know what that's called. It's like a stock thing. You're like hedging out, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it's a really important thing for you to do. Have an inventory health system where you are thinking about the systems on getting rid of your products as
So you
well.
have a day every month where you review all of the SKUs that have been in inventory for 30 days or more, or just the newly 30 days ones.
Yeah, so we look at there's a number of scenarios that we actually look at. We actually look at, let's say, for example, a product's not being in the back. Like we use Repricer Express. I'm assuming that you've heard of
No, but
Repricer
yeah,
Express.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it shows us how many products have maybe not had the buy box. So let's say, for example, we've purchased a product and then it's not even sold one unit, then we want to look into that. Like, you really need to look into that. So we try to learn from everything. And we will actually, at the worst, let's say, for example, we do our infantry health, and I'm looking at the worst scenarios. Let's say one of them is at minus 60% return on investment at this point. We will actually look at that. We'll go back on Keeper, look at when we purchased it, see what happened, and then we learn that a part of our senior assistant team on how we can avoid that in the future.
Right. And try to say, hey, this is why this happened. And if you look back here, you might have been able to notice it by looking at these telltale signs, in the sales rank chart or whatever it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, based on the
Exactly.
supply, or like, hey, look, it looked amazing, but you didn't realize that this guy has like 5,000 units in stock, or um, the reason there's only one person selling it is because it's the brand owner, and they're going to kick you off as soon as you try to get on the listing.
Yeah, it's so important. It's so important. The replenishing system, the inventory health system, obviously your sourcing systems. It's so
Right.
important to always review yourself, especially when you're out doing this full time for sure.
Right. Or I mean, every online arbitrage buy, there's a huge checklist that you need to run through. And it's not just, I mean, it starts with, does it sell? Okay. What does it cost? Can we make money? Okay. And then it goes on a lot further than that. You know what I mean? It's not just, can you make money? Then you need to look like, okay, is it hazmat? Okay.
Yeah,
Can we sell it? And the only way you can tell if you can sell it is there other sellers selling it already? You know what I mean? If there's only one, wow, that's scary. It might be the brand owner. Oh, the name is the brand owner. Yeah, it's definitely the brand owner. Don't try that one. You know what I mean? And yeah, like you said, you can only learn from your mistakes. And there's weird stuff. A lot of people don't know this, that there's errors in Keepa and like reporting and stuff. So you might find a product that on paper doesn't look so good, but if you're smart enough to recognize that, hey, this is actually good because there's no way it has no sales rank but 1,200 reviews. You know what I mean? Everyone else is passing on it because the sales rank is sideways. It's 0. It looks like it's never sold, but it's sold because it has 800 reviews or whatever. And then you get it in stock, and that's a gold mine. But there's so much depth to it, right?
so much depth, so much depth, and the thing is I try to say to anybody starting out online arbitrage, I would much prefer somebody to purchase some stock and then sell out entirely out of that stock and get your money back and make some profit than go too deeply. So
Right.
it's
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
it's about going a mile wide and
Inch
an inch
deep.
deep
Yeah.
instead of like an inch wide and a mile deep.
Right. I think so. Going back to what I was saying earlier, I think that I'm starting to have more of a hybrid strategy. And I think you need to, I don't know, they never say that when they say go an inch, a mile wide, an inch deep. They never tell you to like, but also pay attention to those ones that you can go a mile deep on. You know what I mean? Because I might, as a general rule, say, hey, look at this percentage return and buy like 10 of them. But, if the sales rank chart, this is one we implemented in the last few months. I'm like, if the sales rank chart is amazing, like just crazy velocity, bring it to my attention. because you're not skilled enough to know, or, if you think we can buy over $500 worth or $1,000 worth, bring it to my attention immediately so I can help you analyze it. Because like I said, yes, you do good and it's less risky to have, 10 of this, 10 of that, 10 of this a mile wide. But if you can get, that crazy, once in a blue moon, Lego set for 70% off, Lego doesn't usually go on sale. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Or these, $100 Nerf guns for $20 on Black Friday, you need to be able to realize when's the time to order a pallet of something. So I don't know, I don't know how to phrase that into a cool way that you can say it and it will rhyme or you'll remember it or whatever, but inch deep, mile wide, but don't forget to go on the inside. I don't know.
Yeah. And also I think I stay away from all the penny battling. We don't get obviously involved in any of that. We will set our price. This is what we want to sell it for. And if needs be, we'll let everybody else, sell out for the 5%. And then we'll just sit there when the price comes back up, because it will come back up if you do your analysis correctly.
Right, but also with the importance that you have a planned exit strategy, and it's not just something that you can say, well, the price is going to come back. Just wait one more week. The price is going to, I'd say next week. Oh, hold on, next month, the price, no, it's not. It's not subjective. It has to be objective, and you have to be like, it's been 90 days. You've had your turn. This is what we're going to do.
Exactly.
I think that's the most important part. And I think a lot of sellers don't have that type of stuff in plan. And it's very easy too, because other stuff in your business, you slide all the time. Like if you have a client, or you're a product you're going to buy, or a client or whatever, let's say it's going to make you $1,000 and that's your limit. You're like, I'm not taking clients on for $1,000, at least minimum $1,000. And the client comes by and offers you $950 or $900, you're going to take the client. And so, but you know what I mean? Like that's okay, because that's bringing in money. But there's other things that are like very important to have a hard line not to cross, because you're preserving your capital.
Definitely. Especially when we're coming to the best part of the year now as well. It's Q4. This is going to be my fourth Q4. And there's going to be some products that you may be able to source now, and they're going to be really good selling in Q4, for example.
You guys have toy clearance in the UK? It should be starting up right about now for America.
Yeah, like
this time of the year, like summertime, basically, toys just go clearance, because it's like it's everything that's left over that they didn't sell from Christmas that they thought they were going to try to sell at the beginning of this. You know what I mean? It's all the stuff they didn't sell last year, and they got to get it so that they can recoup and get ready for fourth quarter. Basically, they're getting ready for fourth quarter, so they need to liquidate all this other stuff. And this is when resellers can pack up a whole storage unit full of toys that they're not worth anything right now. You just have to be smart enough to know that they have velocity. And right now is the only time you're going to get Legos for 50% off or whatever toy it is.
Yeah, exactly. And, one thing that I'd wanted to share is, as I built out my team, it's so important to have sourcing assistants in place. Like if you can only do so much yourself, right? So for me, I was trying to do all the sourcing as much as I possibly can. But if you use an assistant that can help you're spreading your net, you're spreading how many products you can find every single day. And that's definitely one thing that I would say.
Let's talk about the team real quick. How many physical employees? You, your wife, and then how many more physical employees?
3 more. So we've got Amber, who's our prep service manager. We've got Siobhan, who's our warehouse processor, and we've got Kaylee, who's a warehouse processor as well.
Right, that's your wife, right? So altogether, those 3 plus you.
Kylie is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got 4 here in the warehouse, and then there's me.
Okay, great. Yeah, awesome. And then virtual assistants, how many?
Yes. So virtual assistants, we've got 10 sourcing assistants, a part of a resource pool as well. And then we've got 3 senior assistants.
Awesome. Great.
Yeah.
And that's the team.
Yeah, that's the team. So we're a part of a resource pool as well. So um, what happened was, one of the things that happened with me was I was hiring assistants. So I went into 2016. When I quit my job, I was like, right, I wanted to hire two more virtual assistants, so two more sourcing assistants. So that brought the team to four sourcing assistants. And then I brought one senior assistant in because I had 40 products coming into me every day, which is a lot of work. So I had to review those items. I had to add them onto Amazon. I had to create the baskets. I had to purchase. So I brought on a senior assistant as well. But what happened was when I got to 6 virtual assistants, a couple of my friends, they were like, well, why don't we start a resource pool? Okay, so what this basically was sharing virtual assistants. So instead of increasing your team and increasing expenses, we basically we were able to lower it.
You gave your work to someone else's VA who had some free time, basically.
And we were able to leverage each other's. So I actually had access to 15 virtual assistants, which was an incredible amount of products to come in every day.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a great strategy that you could use.
Yeah, definitely. You always want to multiply your time, but let's talk about someone who can't multiply their time just yet. Maybe they just started following me a month or two ago. They're selling books on the side. They've made a few $1,000s in the last couple months. They're still working full time. How would they begin to go into online arbitrage? They've got a few $1,000s and they're still working full time. What would you recommend?
So my recommendation is it always comes down to the bottlenecks that they have, right? So if time is a bottleneck and you don't have the time, then you need to start utilizing the sourcing strategy. So there's sourcing lists, for example, and they've all got pros and cons, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got sourcing lists, which you can sign up to a sourcing list and then you could get a supply of product from that sourcing list. You've got virtual assistants, so you can go to a place like Upwork and hire a virtual assistant from Upwork that can work for you in your business. There's a tactical arbitrage, for example, where you can set those scans and then later on you can review those the outcome from those scans. So you've got to decide which strategy you're going to utilize.
Right.
I would recommend to begin with for somebody to get onto a sourcing list because you don't have to do the work to begin with. You're just getting supplied some products. Especially if you're just starting out, it gets you reviewing, it gets you reading. I mean, you should be familiar with keeper graphs anyway, but it gets you just reviewing the products to see whether it's a winner
So
or not.
you get to start doing the process of reviewing products. And if you're a member of a list, you'll probably find out a lot of the things you get on a list are not that great. And so you have to be picky, whatever meets your criteria. So that's good to get you going on the process. And some lists can be relatively inexpensive, and you should definitely be able to make money off of those. And then going forward from there, probably start figuring out how those people make those lists, which is using tactical arbitrage and other software like that. Tactical arbitrage does cost $100 a month, I believe, maybe a little bit more. So it is an investment, and you could definitely get a list for cheaper than that. But you're just going to have to grind it out and, trade a little bit of time, figure out tactical arbitrage, do the list thing. I just think with online arbitrage, when you only have a few $1,000, I just was trying to think what would be, the specific strategy. Cause for me, a few $1,000 seems like a really long time to build, a steady income if you're starting with just a few $1,000.
Yeah, I mean, you've only got two real options. You either use your blood, sweat, and massive action tears, as I like to call it, where you're just grinding it out. You're trying to think, right, I've got 2 hours. Instead of going to bed at 10 p.m., you go to bed at midnight instead. And at that time, I'm going to do some sourcing. Or you put your money to work and you use a sourcing list.
So I just had an idea. Like say this scenario that I'm describing, you got $3,000 and with your purchasing strategy, you're looking for a 90-day or less sell-through rate optimally. Would you recommend someone adopt a strategy where they try to take that 3,000 and spread it across 90 days and spend
No,
much each day or across 30 days? Because I feel like if you have a fixed budget, you definitely need to get into some regular spending habit to keep it going. And maybe
and
there's a certain
I,
strategy, only look for products over a certain ROI at first.
yeah, when you just started out, and let's say you had $3,000, the infantry health period. So we talked about 90 days in this video. I would shorten that because it's about getting your product in and out. You
About
don't want
turning
to be
your
sat
dollar
there.
over faster.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to invest the $3,000 and then 40% of those products maybe are still in stock at 90 days. I would look at the get out strategy at 30 days, for example. That's what I did right at the start. When I first started, I realized that I wanted to snowball as much capital as possible. So I was asking the question, why is this not sold in the first month? And then if it's not sold in the first month, I'm looking at trying to get my money back because one, capital was a bottleneck for me, so I had to keep it going. But as time goes on, one of the things that happens is, let's say you get your business to the 10 and or £20,000 per month. To get to that next level, you then have to expand that infantry health. So for you, if you're just starting out, it's about getting in and out as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that actually makes a ton of sense. And one thing that I want to add for people is that even that strategy is not ideal if you're just trying to start today and you don't know anything today. I wouldn't recommend you just found out about FBA. I wouldn't recommend you go buy a list, watch a Keepa video, and try to buy something today. I would not recommend that. You need to put some, as Kevin says, massive action, blood, sweat, and tears into it a little bit before you learn. Like, you can't just start going balls to the wall, as we say in America, until you understand how it works. You know, you need to make some mistakes on your own, buy some bad products, lose some money. In my opinion, that's when I learn the most, is when I lose money. I remember that. And then you can go into how much money do I have? What is my sell-through rate I want? And how should I go about this? Like, don't go into this as focusing on the profit, because at first you're not going to make profit. It's going to be hard. It's going to be frustrating. Just focus on the process, because if you focus on the process, you might find out, hey, I made some money. And then you can just focus on, well, how do I make more money? Because now I know how to do this, and you're confident that it actually makes money versus who knows what,
Yeah.
right?
The first milestone, just going through the process alone, is a fantastic achievement.
Yeah, like your
Many
first FBA
people,
shipment. Who cares how much money you made? I sent in my first shipment. And then the first item
yeah,
sold. How much did you make? I don't $1.25. Who cares? I wasn't
yeah,
doing
good.
anything when I made that $1.25.
Yeah, I think it's a case of just stumble through the process because when me and Kylie was sat there and we're trying to make our first shipment, we didn't know where we're putting our shipment labels. We didn't know how to create a shipment. We had no idea. We're just sort of stumbling our way through. But that's a fantastic achievement when you get that first shipment away and then you refresh in and you get that first sale and that it's pending and you're wondering, what does that mean? That is a fantastic achievement. But once you do that and once you get that first result, then you know it's real. Then you know
Right,
you've made money online. So you can
right.
just rinse and repeat at that point.
It's
That's
the
when it
most
gets super
amazing.
exciting.
I wish I had the first. I guess you can't. Well, the first dollar. I guess it's not like you know, I don't do they do this in London or in UK where like the store puts their first dollar on the wall? So like
No.
a brick and mortar, you open your store, and then the first dollar that you make, it's like customary to like frame it and put it on the wall in the store. Like the first
Oh
dollar
wow.
that came into your store, just like an inspiration thing. Obviously, you can't really do that online because you don't get the dollar. It goes to your bank and you have to go get it or whatever, and it's not the dollar. But um,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
the same feeling, you know what I mean? And like, I still remember the first money I made on the internet. And like you said, you were always looking for ways to make on the internet. My whole life since fifth grade, since AOL free online trial discs came out, I knew this internet was going to be amazing. I knew I was going to make some money off the internet. I just never, it took me a long time until I finally figured out eBay and selling physical products was like the best thing. And then I found out Amazon. But before that, I was taking surveys online to get 50 cents every time I took a survey, or running ads on my own browser because they would send me a quarter for every day I watch their ads on my browser. I'm getting a check for like $9.50 a month, and my mom has no idea where it's coming from. Like,
Yeah,
you know what I
you've
mean?
got to,
Like this whole
yeah,
thing, like we're okay,
absolutely.
you're an Amazon seller, you're an eBay seller, you sell clothing, retail arbitrage, private label, online, wholesale. Who gives a shit? We're all making money off the internet. And that's what it's all
Yeah.
about. Like, you're selling information, you're doing entertainment, YouTube, whatever. Like, sum it all up. We are the people that realize that we can make money off the internet. You can make a living off the internet, and life isn't just what you see outside your house, like on the streets and those businesses that are around you anymore. We have
And
crazy opportunity.
And for me, I highly recommend everybody who's starting the journey to capture the journey through photos and videos. Because here in the warehouse, I don't know whether I'm going to be able to move this camera, but here in the warehouse, we've got like photos all the way around the warehouse of our journey. So every time when we got into the warehouse, we'd take a photo. When we just at random moments, we'd take a photo, because you don't realize how quickly your journey, you're just taking massive action all the time. So things are always changing. So that builds momentum, though. That builds like, oh wow, we're doing something here. And yeah, I call it the ecosystem. So me and the team, we're always trying our best to remember where we've been, stay humble,
Right.
and continue to
Yeah,
you know
it's
continue to
super important. Like what you just reminded me about, and I'm hoping this makes sense, but my last accountant or CPA, cool dude, just didn't work too well with me, but his whole thing was about like his travels around the world. So like when you come into his office in the main reception hall, there's a huge poster, like wall size poster of the world. And he has pins, two colors. One color is places he's been, and the other one is places he wants to go, right? And then there's like, I don't know, 20 or 5 or 30 or 50 people that work under him. He's the guy, and everyone else does all the paperwork and calls and whatever. And he's laced up many nice vehicles, and where we live is expensive. But the whole thing was like, I got the feeling like that's what his office is for. Like for him, it's like, this is what it is to produce the ability for me to go and travel around the world. This is what I want to do with my life. And this is like most important, literally it takes up one whole wall in the reception office is a map of the world. And it's just his pins, where he's been. And I think, obviously that's for him, but kind of everyone has to see that too and be like, that's the culture of it, because everyone
yeah.
knows that after taxes are done, everyone gets 2 weeks off, and he pays everyone well. And this is where he goes, and when he comes back, he's happy. And then the saga continues. You know what I mean?
You've got to celebrate. You're going to have lots of failures on your journey. There's going to be a lot of things that don't go quite right. I mean, we haven't touched on, I got suspended in my Amazon business in
Right.
September 2017. But when failures happen, like, you've got to prepare yourself
Right.
for anything to occur,
And
right? So anything
celebrating helps you prepare for the
cel-
failures because they don't hurt
definitely.
as much, because you have more good energy built up, and it just dings you a little bit versus not celebrating, and then you get dinged like below surface level.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to
See,
the best way
that's
the best way I can say this, Reezy, is you've got to put yourself at level 10 as much as you possibly can, because then if you get a level 8 problem, it's okay. But if
right.
you're at like level 4 and you get a level 8 problem, like an Amazon
Yeah,
suspension or
you're
something,
negative
it's
negative
yeah,
4.
yeah.
You're still above. Yeah, yeah. It's like the 10x rule. You want to be 10x ahead. But the whole celebrating thing is super important because of just the psychology of wiring it into your head. Because working hard for stuff is hard, and yes, it is rewarding. But as human animals, we probably would just like to lay around, have sex, eat good food, play around, play ball games, whatever. You know what I mean? And so it's hard work to do these things that are unnatural to our animal brain. And so we need to celebrate it to tell our animal brain, hey, this is why you do this. You know what I mean? And that's like chemically in your body when you celebrate, I'm going to Italy in 3 weeks, or those pictures on the wall or whatever. It's very important. And also like to break it down even more simpler is to spend some of your goddamn money. Like, you are making money. you need to spend it. And there's two reasons, and it's contradictory to what a lot of people think because they want to tell you to save money and blah, blah, blah. You need to spend it, for one, for the reward factor, to remind yourself why you do this and you have it. But two, and no one thinks about this, you need to spend money because you need to teach yourself that it's not worth as much as you think it is and that you can get more of it. And by giving it away, it weirdly creates this feeling in your head like you have an excess of it. Like, I got some money, let me give it away. And then because I can just go get more. And I learned this from religious people. It weirdly, because I'm not religious, but in a way that because they give 25% of their check to their church, they actually end up making more money because it teaches their brain subconsciously that money is plentiful and they can just go get more.
100%. 100%. You've got to reward yourself. You have to. And we have celebrations here in the for the girls at the warehouse. We'll go out for Christmas dinners. We do so much to continuously work on the culture that we have in the business, because it's so important. There's a like you say, there's going to be a lot of things you go through. There's going to be a lot of setbacks. There's going to be a lot of failures, but you've got to think about what you want. You've got to take massive action towards be able to go travel. I think,
right.
You're going to go to Italy soon. So that's really motivating, but you also, I know what it was like to be at work, and I don't want to be back there anymore. Right. So that's super motivating as well.
Right. But you have to create like that with like what you're saying with your work, your employees or whatever, this like family culture. I was just thinking, because you know how your family loves you no matter what, unless you like went off the complete deep end. They're always there for you no matter what, right? And so they care about you, like that's real. And then like you need to put that into the workplace and with your employees and culture, and so that they feel like family, not just employees. And that's how you do it, by celebrating, by taking care of them, by showing them that you care about them, because it's like your family will hang around forever. They're just screwed. They're your family. Sorry, you're related to me. But the other ones, they can leave. And so you need to create this culture that makes them want to stay. And I think that comes from celebrating, that your success, the part they play in your success, etc.
Yeah. And one thing that we've not touched on is the whole the documentation side of things. So when you do recruit somebody, the whole onboarding, the whole appraisals, where you sort of what their position is, their roles and objectives, creating training packs for them, whether that's working procedures on exactly how to do tasks. And then, every month we go through appraisals here where we have objectives, we have targets, we have goals, and then we will appraise to see whether we've achieved those targets and goals. And if what kind of
goals would it is it like, purchase this many units, purchase this many new SKUs, ship out this many packages? What kind of numbers are you looking for?
Yeah, so let's say in our purchasing sheet, we've got a purchasing target of £40,000, right? If that's our purchasing target, then our purchaser, he's got that target. So he's working towards that. Obviously, that doesn't mean that you just sort of purchase whatever you want, but that's what we set. So in terms of like, let's say our sourcing assistants, please submit your sheets by 10 a.m. Okay, because it has a knock-on effect in the entire system. So the target will be submit your sheets for 10 a.m. Because if you submit your sheets by 10 a.m., our reviewing system could be complete by 1 p.m. And then we're getting our purchasing done by 3 p.m. Do you see what I mean? So we've got targets, we've got key performance indicators.
So target would be like 90% on-time delivery of product sourcing sheets.
Yeah, and we go a lot further, deeper.
Do you reward them for hitting those targets in any way?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
by bonuses or pay raises or.
Yeah, so we, a part of the appraisal, we will have different performance scores. So like it'll be from poor to exceptional, and we banded our assistants. So if they've got exceptional, they will be at the top end of their payment band. And then if it's poor, for example, or they didn't achieve their goals, then it'll be at the bottom end. And that's really motivating for your team,
And
because
everybody can see everybody else.
Well, I mean, the appraisals are
private.
that's private. Yeah, the
Right.
appraisals are.
Do you ever have one, for example, one purchaser who's doing really well and another one who's not, and then you say, "Hey, can you talk to this person and figure out?" And then make that one who was doing not so well bring up to speed, like, as you know, recognize some leadership in the more skilled virtual assistants.
Yeah. I mean, the best way is for your team to evolve. You've got to empower your team to work with each other. Okay, so if there's a lesson to learn, so let's say, for example, our warehouse team. So Kaylee in here, let's say for whatever reason there was a product that came into the warehouse that there's a problem with that particular product. Say it was a different size, or it was a different color. It was like I don't know, it was a multi-pack or whatever.
Right.
They will then schedule a meeting to discuss that issue, and then they learn. You've got to develop your team to build.
Right. So when the person who receives the product goes, "Hey, this is supposed to be 9.2 ounces and this is 12.1 ounces," or, "Yeah, this is not profitable because the purchaser didn't realize the listing was for a 2-pack. Maybe the image doesn't show 2 bottles," or whatever. And so whatever, good mistake. But then you bring that to the attention of the purchaser, just yourself, or with another VA on the call or in the chat, or.
No, Kylie would do that here from the warehouse.
So just one-on-one. Hey, here's the thing you bought, and it's a mistake you made, not an issue, but here's the learning lesson. And then maybe keep a record of that so that you can see, hey, you made the same mistake 2 weeks in a row.
Definitely. But
so you have a spreadsheet for that, for tracking, employee infractions.
Yeah. So I'll go deeper into the sourcing assistants. A sourcing assistant, we track what time that they submit their sheets. So their target is 10 a.m. Are they before 10 a.m., after 10 a.m.? We will track how many stalls that they supply. So the key performance indicator is, like, if you could find 10 products from one store, that's just then creating like one order. But if they submit 5 different stores, then you've maybe not got enough to get a full basket at that store. So we track that. The detail in the information that they're supplying. So a part of the reviewing is the buy for price.
The notes for the product, maybe. It says,
yeah, so
hey, this is a multi-pack. Make sure you order 2.
Yeah, so you've got to track. You've got to have key performance indicators for every single role. That's 100%.
And then do you do another thing, like you have hard-based rules where it's like, hey, you've made this mistake 4 times in a row. We have to let you go.
Yeah, we don't have any. We don't actually have any sort of hard rule like that. If you do 5 mistakes, then we're going to have to let you go. We try to, part of the appraisal, we try to have improvement plans. So we've got sort of improvement objectives.
Right.
And they tend to. It tends to
work out.
Yeah. Up until this point, we've never actually sacked anybody.
Oh wow.
Touch wood. Yeah.
Nice. Did you say touch wood?
Yeah, touch wood, yeah.
In America, we say knock on wood, but
knock on wood, yeah.
Apparently, it's older than America. Touch wood. I'm gonna have to look that up. Where does the phrase touch wood come from? What is that euphemism, and what does it actually mean? No idea.
Well,
I guess it's something to do with ships or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, you gotta
touch wood.
We're hoping that we never have to go to that point,
Right. So, what would you say is your favorite part about selling on Amazon?
The favorite part is the systemization of the business. I absolutely love. I love the whole idea of, and this is what I started to do straight away. I love the idea of this is Amazon, and we've got sourcing systems that we can develop. We've got reviewing systems that we can develop. We've got purchasing systems that we can improve. We've got shipping systems like here in the warehouse. We're always having discussions on where should the tables be? Where should the shelving be? How quickly can we get products in and out? And that's what I absolutely love that about this business.
Awesome. And what would you say the impact has been on your life, on your value of your personal life since you started being full-time Amazon seller to now? Like, how has your life changed? Not
Oh,
and
my
not
life.
just not just money, but we can talk about that too.
Yeah, my life changed massively. I'm just a completely different person, from a personal development point of view, the goals that we have with the family. We've seen places. We went to Rome. We went to Paris. We've been out to France. We've been to different places. So life changed massively. And just the relationship that I have with just being able to build the team out, it's just fantastic. I absolutely love what we do, as well as being able to interact with other people like yourself. I've met you, Reezy. We met each other last year in London through Andy, and I absolutely love just the whole reselling community. And yeah, it's just fantastic.
Awesome. What is how old is your kid?
My son Theo is 11, and my daughter Harper is 4.
What does Theo say you do for a living? If you asked him, what do you think he would say?
He would say that we sell on Amazon. He would say that. He would also say I'm a YouTuber too.
My
Because
dad
his
sells
friend,
on Amazon. He's a YouTuber too.
yeah, and his friends, it's so funny. His friends, when I pick him up from school, they'll go life success engineer, life success, because they're subscribers.
Because that's a huge culture thing, YouTube, right?
Yeah,
Like people
yeah,
think you don't even have to be. What the irony is that if you make a YouTube account and put one video on YouTube, you're now a YouTuber, or I guess like technically or whatever. But people go nuts. We were just in Disneyland with the kids, and I was filming Luna, and I'm just vlogging anyways. But I was particularly filming Luna, and she had met a friend in Disneyland, and our families were hanging out together for a few hours, and they were just having a blast. And I was filming, and then she got to asking what the filming was, and I was like, oh, I do YouTube. And then I was like asking, is it okay if I put your daughter in the video? And she was like, no. And I was like, hey, if I blur her face out, is that okay? Yeah, that's fine. And then the other girl who's 7, like my daughter, overheard me say YouTube and was like, oh, what? She has a YouTube? You do YouTube? And it was like, YouTube, YouTube, YouTube. Oh my God, I can't believe I'm hanging out with a YouTuber. It was just like, people go
yeah,
crazy. So I actually do that too now. If people ask me, obviously I make money off of Amazon, but it's just a much more interesting conversation piece for me to just say I'm a YouTuber.
yeah.
Like, what's going
And
to come out of that? If I tell you I sell on Amazon, that's going to turn into me giving you a free consultation and you probably being bored anyways. And so, but the other one actually gets people interested and they're like, what do you mean you're a YouTuber? And I'm like, yeah, we can make a living off of YouTube alone. And that just blows people's minds.
yeah, and another thing with my daughter Harper, she's 4 years old. She literally always says, "Take massive action now." She's 4 years old.
I need to hear that video clip so bad. That's probably
I've
so
got a video. Yeah, I've got a video. I can share it with you.
dude.
It's fantastic.
Send it. I want to put it on your story and tag me because I'll put it on my Instagram story as well. That is so cute. I love the
Yeah,
fact how the internet has not only changed our lives but our children's lives. And like obviously me helping others change their lives and their children's lives or whatever. So I literally feel like I'm definitely absolutely making the world a better place, even just starting with my own kids, because their life is much better than mine and they know more possibilities and they're going to treat people better and they're going to treat the world better and etc. And it's just so amazing to be able to impart those things to your kids, you know. And I see my kid hangs out with other people's kids, and no disrespect to anybody's kids or whatever, but they're just not as they're not like where my kid is, you know, because of what she sees all the time or because of what I teach her or whatever. And I just think that, you know, my kid's like 7 years old and she was like telling her friends, like, don't worry about that. That's just marketing. Like, you don't need that. That's marketing. They marketed to you, you know? And it's just, I don't know. I can't put it into words, but to me, that's the most valuable thing that I've done is that I've made the world better for many children. And, you know, those kids are going to grow up and do the same for more people.
100%. I couldn't agree more. I mean, a huge driver for me was a part of myself growing up. I didn't have an awful lot. I didn't have any sort of luxuries and things. And for us to be able to, I didn't go abroad until I was sort of like 19 years old. So for me to show the world to my children, to Harper and Theo, it's a different, it's
And
a different upbringing.
those kids that go to school with your son, they'll see the videos. They know you went to Rome or to Disneyland Paris, and their dad didn't take them. No offense to their dad or whatever, but it just shows them, you know, that there's more to
There's
it
more to life. Yeah,
than what you see, you know, most people doing.
yeah. Well, it's about the culture. It's about the experience. It's about learning things bigger than just sort of maybe just a
And
hometown.
it's so much different when you actually know the person. I mean, we all follow or a lot of us follow major sports, whatever. And you know this guy who's a famous rugby player or whatever. He's living the life, right? Millionaire, billionaire, famous baseball player, whatever. But it doesn't really hit home to you as much as like, oh, I grew up on the same street as that guy. I went to his house. He had it worse than me, and he worked his ass off. And now he's, you know, Derek Jeter, Major League Baseball, or whatever. That just makes it so much more real to people.
Hmm.
And I think that's very important for a lot of people like me and you. We didn't have maybe the best role models. You know, I didn't know anyone that owned a business or a house or a nice car or anything like that. So for me, it was the rappers because I'm like, look, they're talking about where they came from and they're on food stamps, but obviously they just sold how many records, you know, and they're making it, you know? So I don't know. I just really think about that and value being able to be that example for other people, you know, like those
Definitely.
kids, like your Theo's friends at school, you know, or anybody that
And
sees you.
yeah, and also for me it was I started living with my sister when I was 11 years old. I didn't have my parents around me from 11 years old, right? So for me, being with Kylie and Theo having parents that are still together, you know, after 12 years, and just having that family environment, and we're now working. That's another thing that I would say, which we've not touched on. Being able to work with Kylie now is fantastic. Like she was a hairdresser, as I mentioned. I was an electrical engineer, and we did not see each other until maybe 7 at night. And on a weekend, I was like at home on a Saturday while she was at work all the time. So for us
Right.
now to be working together with our children, we've got, you know, able to spend days off with each other, have the weekends off with each other. Just that in alone is ultimately what
Yeah, no,
makes us
I
better,
remember
you
me
know?
and Rosa used to do the same. We worked opposite schedules because we couldn't
Mm,
afford childcare. And so we had to work opposite schedules. And so we'd literally see each other for like an hour or a half hour, or an hour and a half a day, 5 days a week. You know what I mean? And then like our schedules are opposite. So we like one of us is always tired if we're trying to hang out with each other, you know?
yeah,
And so, yeah,
huge.
just having the freedom of time for that is so, it's been so long since I've had to say I can't make it to something that someone asked me if I could go to. Like, I can't even remember being like, oh, sorry, I can't make it. Got to work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but the other side of that, and I want to touch on this real quick, is do you get stress at all from working with your wife? Like, is there marital stress from working with her? And how do you deal with that? Do you have like a heart, like, hey, it's 6 p.m. We're not talking about work anymore, you know? Because I see that as a potential struggle.
And I would be lying if I said that we haven't gone through struggles during this period. What we've actually done, we've learned a lot about what my strengths are, what her strengths are. So she's out here in the warehouse, she manages the warehouse, this is hers. Okay, so I'm more of the virtual manager, so I'm looking after all the virtual side of things. So what we will do, we've come to learn where that's her responsibility. And yes, I'm obviously talking to her about it, but it's always sort of through her. Do you see what I mean? She's got the authorization here. Whereas at the same time, the virtual side,
So
she
really, you
knows.
don't need to talk to her about what she's working on.
We do, and we do try to sort of like, we don't talk about it on the weekends, but we've got to a point now where we've just got a good understanding on what we both do together. We're the opposites. She's fantastic at what she does here, taking massive action here in the warehouse every single day, and she loves it. That's where her strengths are.
So, but for example, do you segment your conversation, your communication? So do you have, like, for example, is your text message with your wife, does work stuff go in there? Or do you have a specific Slack chat just for work stuff?
Slack. Yeah, we've got Slack.
That's kind of what I was getting at. I think that's extremely important. And my wife doesn't work with me anymore, but my business partner, who's also my best friend for a long, freaking almost 20 years now, we're starting to feel like, hey, we need to like separate our personal communication and business stuff, because for once it gets mixed sometimes, and you're in different areas and different moods or whatever, and it's not good. But mostly it's just like, man, we're friends, but we only talk when there's problems now. You know what I mean? Mm. So like, maintain that, the sacredness of the non-work relationship.
Yeah, really important. We use Slack, so we're talking work in Slack, and then we're not talking work in our messages.
Great. Yeah, very important. And you use Slack for the whole team, yeah?
Yeah, we have different channels across the whole team: warehouse, purchasing, reviewing.
Did you try any other software, or did you just go with Slack off the bat?
We went straight with Slack.
Okay.
I think Slack is fantastic. The fact that you can have different channels, you can have private channels, you can have, some team members don't have to see all the channels. Slack's a fantastic tool. And Asana, we use Asana too.
How do you spell that?
A-S-A-N-A.
What is that one for?
This is a project management tool. So what we have is basically allows you, for all your roles and responsibilities, okay, so let's say, for example, your virtual assistant purchaser, the roles and responsibilities for that purchaser will be able to go in Asana. So let's say he does purchasing every day. So he's got a purchasing task that comes out every day. Let's say he does.
So it presents basically him with a to-do list for his position every day, and then he has to check it off as it's completed, and you could see all that in Slack, I imagine.
In Asana.
Oh, it doesn't integrate with Slack.
It does, but we've never done that, because once you've got a big team, and once you have many people doing different roles, it's very easy to. It's so difficult to think, okay, what everybody should be doing at this point?
Right. When the team gets to a certain size, it needs a project manager.
Well, no. I mean, even just one role, just having, because you've got so many different tasks to do, right? So you've got like on a weekly basis, you might have replenishing. On a bi-weekly basis, you might have VAT invoices requests. You may have inventory adjustments to do once a month.
Right, but this can all be automated to be delivered to their daily list versus having to come into the warehouse and erase the whiteboard and write the tasks out every day.
Exactly, yeah. So if you've got a task that's a monthly task, you put it in Asana, and then once that date comes out, it comes up with their board.
That's a huge tip, because some people work creatively very well. They can see what needs to be done and can make sure it gets done. And other people, when you put them in those situations, they're literally worthless. But if you give them instructions on what to do, they can be the most valuable employee ever, because they will just slaughter it. But you just have to understand, this person just they don't want to think so much. They want to get a lot of stuff done, but if you don't do the thinking part for them, they won't be able to get it done. So you have to just, here you go, here's your food, eat it,
Yeah, definitely. But you as the business owner, you can then see, are people in your team, are some maybe behind, maybe didn't do that task, and what the problem is. Or maybe they did do the task and everybody's up to date. And it's just about knowing what they should be doing every day as well. Because there are some tasks like, let's say, inventory adjustments. that should be done every single month, that we do it every month.
Right.
It's very easily forgotten just because of everyday working.
Right. And it's not just for the employees, right? I'm guessing you have your own Asana as well. And there's
Definitely,
things that
yeah.
come on there for you daily.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
100%.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds like I need to get Asana and then just let Mandy populate that with stuff for me to do.
That would help. It would help. It's a free app. You can use it on your phone. You can use it on your laptop, and it can control your entire business. From you can either have lists, so you can have task lists, or you can have boards where you can put
So
through
kind of like Trello, but it sounds maybe like it's cooler.
Yeah, I prefer.
So let's one thing that you touched on that I don't know if everybody knows, and I just want to bring them one last little piece of value is KPI. What does that stand for? What does it mean? And how can people use it in their business to make it better or to make more money? Or why should they be using KPIs?
A KPI stands for Key Performance Indicator. And a key performance indicator should be a number in your business that you set that means something. So let me give you a simple example. If you said that this employee should make 10 calls in the next month, that's the target, that's the key performance indicator. You've got 10 calls to do in this next week, and then a week passes, and that employee tells you, you ask that person, how many calls did you make? If they then say, I made 20 calls, it tells you everything that you need to know about how that week has been. They've had a fantastic week. The target was 10 and they achieved 20. Amazing work, top job. But if they said, I only made 2 calls, it tells you everything you need to know about that week again. On what did you have some difficulty? What happened? So
right, and it's an objective number that tells the whole story.
It does, yeah, and it helps you when it comes to setting goals. Okay, so if, for example, let's say you want to ship 1,000 products this next week, and you get to Tuesday and you've only shipped 100 products, you already know that you're not going to hit your target unless something significant happens. Like, let's say, for example,
right.
the warehouse say that I only shipped 50 on Monday, and then I only shipped 100 on the Tuesday. It allows you to anticipate if you're going to hit your target.
How am I going to ship 850 in the next 5 days?
Yeah,
considering I'm going to take 2 of those days off as well. So really,
yeah. So key performance indicators are fantastic. In every single role in your business, you should have key performance indicators. So like for
me, for YouTube, I want to upload 10 videos a month or whatever it is. And the week goes by, how many videos have I uploaded? Okay, you need to upload more next week, or know that, hey, that goal's not realistic. Or maybe you did 10 in the first week and you go, wow, I could do 30 in a month because I did 10 in a week.
Yeah. And the most obvious key performance indicator for us as Amazon sellers is sales. Everybody knows that key performance indicator because you're like, wow, I've made £1,000 sales today. That's a key performance indicator. But if it allows you to anticipate the future, really. If you think about, you want to achieve, I'll give you the example of the shipping products from the warehouse. If you're shipping 400 units every single day, but then your shipping units drops, you can already anticipate that your sales are going to drop as well.
Yep.
Yeah. So we have key performance indicators across our entire business, from the warehouse team, the virtual team, from sourcing to how much are we purchasing every day, how many units did we purchase, how many different products did we purchase. Here in the warehouse, did we have any shipment discrepancies? Did we have any store discrepancies?
Right.
You could have performance indicators.
So it's ideally, I mean, you could do it in a multitude of ways, but the way I think is really valuable is to create a standardized way to communicate with your employees, basically about what have they done in a day, or what. So like on a daily basis. So, I've had, basically not horrible, but just inefficient communications with employees, which are just like text messages that go on for infinity, right? And it's this and that. And I was like, I think it was after I met you and kind of understood how you use the key performance index. And for sourcers, for example, they would just send me a barrage of info all the time. And I'm like, look, send me one message at the end of the day. And all I want to know is how many books you bought and how much you spent. And if there was any that you purchased that are, over $25 profit, send me the screenshots of those from the scanning app, right? So then I can look at that and I can see how much you spent, how many books you bought, and then here's the noteworthy ones. So I know if you bought 100 books and you only sent me 4 noteworthy ones, that I have 96 marginally profitable books. Those are all ones that are going to make me less than $20. You know what I mean? And so I can kind of gauge. I don't have to ask you, how was the day? And you go, oh, it's kind of slow, started off. And then, we had a good, whatever. None of that matters. It's all done in a non-emotional based manner with one, paragraph.
And it goes even towards like your seller account health, for example. So one thing that used to really bother me was when I'd go out for dinner, for example, right? I'd go out for some lunch with the family, or it might be a birthday evening or something. And I hadn't checked Amazon Seller Central. So I didn't know, I wasn't aware whether I had any customer messages or customer feedback or performance notifications. And that used to play on my mind thinking, I need to check Seller Central before I go to bed after this meal. So what I started to do was I had my senior assistant, my manager, he would be in my account, he would do the checks, and then he would send me a report every day saying, all our customer messages have been responded to, our customer feedback is 100%, our zero performance notifications. And that would then, I wouldn't have to log into Seller Central to check this information. I've just got it on my Slack. It would come through, and now I can enjoy dinner a bit more. Do you see what I mean? You can relax.
Yeah, very, very, very important. That's one of the things that I started doing after I met you as well, is stop checking emails and then stop checking your account every day. And so just get a notification, oh, hey, you just got a negative feedback, which is super easy to automatically remove. It used to be harder. It used to be, oh, I got a negative feedback. How much was the sale for? Send this message or that message, refund it, whatever. Well, now it's just, click the button to get it automatically removed. If it didn't, let's escalate it or whatever and let me know. But otherwise, I don't even need to know. If I got a negative feedback and you got it automatically removed, I don't want to know unless it's like some specific learning lesson for me. If it's my fault, let me know so we don't do it. Otherwise, I don't need to know, and I don't have to have customer messages lapsing. And it's like, I never get a customer message that actually requires a response. It's always, I only have 5 automatic default responses in Amazon, and I don't think anyone's ever asked me a question that I can't answer with one of those 5. It's like, hey, does this thing, because I sell used books, they're like, is there markings on these pages? What do it look like? And I'm like, well, sorry, our products are at FBA warehouse, which means I cannot go grab them and look at them for you, but we trust, we adhere strongly to Amazon's policies, and if you're not happy, I will give you your money back. But it's not like it requires me to do anything. And like you said, I was fretting over, I got a message or I got a ding because I didn't answer the message over 24 hours. And I don't know if that actually affects you in any way, but you get a little warning sign, which is never good. For literally a dollar a day, $365 a year, I don't have to check my Amazon account ever for those 2 things, which are the only reason why I was logging into it when I'm at lunch or on vacation or whatever. And that's stressful.
It is, and it really, and you carry that all day as well. You carry it in your mind all day, and if you can relieve that, I call it like it's maintenance tasks. Okay, so you got like one of the things that I always focus on in my own personal productivity is maintenance tasks or growth tasks. Anything like a maintenance task for you, Reezy, would be, checking your emails. You're going in and checking all your emails. You want to be focusing in on growth tasks as the business owner.
Right,
You want to be focused on all the things
making new email sequences, creating, I'm not talking about Amazon, I'm talking about Reezy Resells now, but whatever. Making new email sequences, creating a course, selling
Yeah.
ads for the podcast, those kind of things.
Yeah, or in your Amazon business, you could be focusing on like the creation of a working procedure, because that working procedure, once you've created it, can help your
It would
team.
free up more time too.
Yeah, so they're not then having to ask you all the time, how do you do this task? It's like, well, there's the procedure. You know,
Exactly.
it's the system then manages the team. It's not you managing everybody, it's the system. So that's where the growth comes in. That's where the growth versus maintenance. So
Yeah.
that's
So
what I try to
there's all,
focus.
yeah, definitely different kinds of growth as well too. There's growth
Mm,
that's like, this is growth because it brings more income in. And then, like you said, this is growth because it brings more time in. And I'm probably sure
100%.
than that, but yeah, the way I look at it is like time and money is the same thing. So if it brings you more money, cool. But if it brings you more time, you can then use that time to bring in more money.
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. Which is
And
like the basis for hiring, right? People are like, well, should I hire? How should I? And I'm like, you'll know when it's time to hire, because when you hire, it should definitely make you money.
100%. And it's like I said, it's the systems that should be managing the team. Okay, it's we as business owners. One of the fundamental rules is we don't manage people; it's procedures that manage people, and that's what allows you to have that scalability. It's just like, let's talk about Jeff for a second. You know, Jeff in Amazon, everywhere on Amazon, they've got key performance indicators on us. Like, how many performance notifications have you had? You know, if you've got certain over a certain threshold, it's going to go to the seller performance team, and
Yep.
they're going to start looking into your account. You mentioned there about the 24 hours messaging back customers. If that goes over the 24 hours, you might get a little flag saying that the customer
Right.
response time.
And then
So
they can do so much stuff based off of that, which is why uh you, not you specifically, Kevin, but someone else, you might make the same mistake as me and get suspended, and I might just get an email that says, hey, you're not supposed to do that, and nothing happens to me because of my KPIs are like, oh, he's making us a lot of money, he's been with us for a few years, he doesn't really make mistakes, versus this person's not making us much money. They have 12 items listed. They've been on Amazon for 3 months. They've made 2 infractions. Those are all KPIs that they're using to analyze, to make decisions.
that's exactly how Amazon works. That's exactly how they've done all the automation. Because they need, like, do you guys in the US, do you have the performance indicator now?
Yep.
The inventory performance. You probably got it before
Yeah,
us.
yeah.
That is exactly how they are scoring us as sellers. They're basing it on the components of their business that they see, like excess inventory or replenishing inventory. They are measuring us all the time. So you need to do that in your business. This is what I try to do all the time, for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, man, we could talk for hours and hours. I feel like we got to bring on the Life Success Engineer series. We can do a few shows, or I want to do some other type of shows that's more loose. Maybe like me and 5 other sellers or something. Just like have instead of, I don't know if the audience. Let me know if you're into this, audience, in the comments section. Would you be interested in listening to a show that is more like you being a fly on the wall with like 5 sellers in a room having the conversation they would have if you weren't there? So not geared towards teaching you stuff, just being able to hear what 5 similar Amazon sellers or eBay sellers or YouTubers or whatever, like, what's their, obviously I'm talking about the content being framed around that niche. They're not just talking about whatever, but is that something you'd be interested in? Because I would love to do that. I'll do it for free. And it would be cool just to have like a once a week thing where people got together, and it's not, I'm always there, but everyone else could be different people, and we could have like a round table type thing where we could talk about different types of Amazon businesses, or maybe other, I mean, we're always going to be talking about money or interesting stuff, I'm sure. But
But
just
you're just
like
having a
that.
mastermind.
Right. So yeah, just like, I guess, just like a mastermind of masterminding people getting together. But you know what I mean? Just like, it's not so geared towards, hey, this is how you do this and this is how you do this. Just like, hey, we're just talking and having a good time, and we are people who make money online. I don't know. I think it would be interesting. I'd do it just because I like to talk to people and I always learn stuff. If not, get inspired by getting off the phone with people like you and just go, man, I know Kev's not even going to sleep tonight. He's going to stay up all night and work. Like, I got to get to work.
I love masterminding. It's one of the most powerful things ever. So if you ended up doing something like that, I would absolutely, I'd watch every single week just because it's so interesting to learn. I learned so much from other people. I've learned so much from you. I've learned so much from Andy.
Well,
I've learned so
there's
much.
so much to learn, and I think the problem is a lot of our niche is based around beginner content, right? Because people either learn this how to do it or they don't, and it all happens within 3 months or whatever. So as content creators, we make money by following that cycle of like basically the same thing every 3 months of getting people into selling or whatever. So, but some people like stick around because they appreciate that you got them into the game or whatever. But like for how long? Because every time your information is just for beginners, they're not learning anything new. In this way, we could create content that more advanced people, like you said, you'd listen to it. So if, just more advanced content, it's not beginner stuff. Who knows what's going to pop up? Maybe all of a sudden we start talking about realty or Airbnb or Turo or who knows what, but high level mastermind thinking by ambitious people doing different stuff. I think it'd be awesome.
I think so too. Just be real. See, it's a
Yeah.
real conversation between people, and
Yeah.
that's
Like fully real, like you can cuss or whatever. Like, no, some of us might be drinking beer. Some of us might be drinking coffee. Like, who knows? But just, and then we could all become like, I don't know. I'm going to do it. Maybe I'll do one episode on my channel, one episode on another, whatever. But just the idea to create a window into like what are higher level people, like what are people talking about who make $1 million a year or have 1 million in the bank account? Not that that's me. I'll be the host of the show, but you know what I mean? Because you need to create these things. It needs to be, I want to create real casual conversations around financial success and like literacy and opportunity, because as society, we have this thing where people think it's bragging when you do that. And for me, I never, ever thought of it as bragging. I thought of it as validation, because when I'm like, oh, wow, that means it's real. If you believe that person, you know what I mean? And so maybe we can just like make it more real for more people. You know what I mean?
I think it's a fantastic idea. I really do. I love the fact that we have now the ability to learn from, because our journeys they're all different. We all have different experience. We're all trying to go on the same journey, but we have different failures. We have different successes, and that's how you learn from each other. If something worked in my business and then I share that with you, you
Right.
then learn. But then if something works for you and you share that with me, then I then learn, and then if you make that available to your audience, then I mean, we're
Yeah,
learning so much
there's just so
already.
much. We all think really similarly about like opportunity and efficiency mindset. And so I think we could all learn a lot from each other, and also inspire and motivate each other as well.
That is a huge thing. The inspiration and the motivation to like, it's possible.
Yep.
Just believing that it's possible, that gets you to take action. It's a huge thing.
Right. Yeah. And it's a really weird thing, but as humans, for some reason, when you see someone with a pile of money or a Lamborghini or whatever, you don't naturally just think it's possible. You kind of probably go into like a jealousy mindset or like being cynical, thinking maybe they had an easier life than you did or whatever. But the reality is that you need to train yourself to be, to think that that could have been your neighbor that you grew up with and had a worse life than you, but look where he's at now. And none of that even really matters except for in your own head of just being like, it's possible. It's possible. Like I never, even people are like, Ty Lopez is a scam or whatever. Like to me, I don't think like that because I'm not even concerned. Like I'm like, something that he's doing is working well. I know his name. He's successful. He's making money. Like, I'm not even interested in whether he's a scam or not. I just want to know how he's doing it. Like it's working. I'm not there to judge someone.
No, absolutely. I think one of the key messages there is, if you find somebody that you resonate with, if you find somebody that like you can see and you trust them, then follow them.
Right.
learn from them, get involved and mastermind and try to provide value as much as you possibly can, and just continue to learn all the time, and have an open mind that it is possible that you could be very successful. You can quit your job, and that's as long as it gets you ultimately taking action, whether that is
Right.
you're inspired to take action, you then motivate to take action. There's two ends of the spectrum. You're
Yeah.
either inspired or you in desperation.
Right. You have
And
to figure out where you're at or which one works for you.
use that to work for you. Absolutely.
Yep.
Use it
You
as a
gotta,
strength.
yep, play it against yourself, whether it's, burning your boats or shaming yourself. That works for me. That works great. Like if I might do that at some point in my career. I might be like making YouTube videos about, hey, I'm going to do this. And that's the YouTube video. And I want you to tell me I'm a punk every single day if I'm not doing it. Like that's literally, it's so easy to lie to yourself. It is so easy to lie to yourself or to trick yourself and to say, hey, I'm going to do 10 push-ups. And then when it comes around, you actually do 9 and no one knows. No one knows you didn't do 10. It's so easy to lie to yourself, right? So that accountability of the mastermind or just being able to put it out there, I think is super important.
It really is. It really is. I mean, I put it on my channel myself. I was like, right, I'm going to share my goals. This is what I want to do, and it puts pressure on you. You're like, right, I've told that to the world. I now need to take action and follow through.
Yeah, it's super duper important to keep the magic going, I guess you would say. Because people ask me, I've got to get this question like, how are you so inspired and motivated? And I'm not the guy that's like, well, how are you not? Like I'm not a rock. I'm not Gary V. All right. So the answer is I'm not always motivated and inspired. You just only see what I want you to see because it's not real. It's television. It's YouTube. But the answer is, I'm pretty sure it's the same as anyone else that's not Gary V, is I look for external sources. I read books. I listen to things that are motivating. I look to other people. I have certain motivational speeches that I've listened to hundreds of times because anytime I'm feeling bad, I put them on. Anytime I'm feeling like life's too hard and I can't be productive enough, I just put on Gary V for like one day. After that, you can't complain about anything ever again, at least until you feel like you can again, and then throw Gary V back on. But it's just important to understand how you work, and what motivates you and keeps you going long term, or maybe it's not long term, it wears off, and how do you keep that going? You know what I mean? Like, I think religious people have it like as an undertoning thing of the religion that kind of puts it into them. You're always thankful, you're always grateful, you're always praying. And I'm not religious, but
it's the ritual.
It's the repetition of the ritual,
Yeah,
regularly in good thoughts.
definitely. I in my warehouse here upstairs, I've got a little trampoline, a little rebounder that I put music on, and I'll listen to some Rocky music or something, or Tina Turner's "Simply the Best," and I'll get up on the trampoline and jump up and down and do whatever you can to get inspired again, ready to take action, go out for a run, do whatever you've got to do.
Yeah, it's probably hard to be pretty mad after that.
It
right?
is.
Like this, like what does Tony Robbins say in the Power Within? I did that one, and he was like talking about your body posture, and it was like, look, anytime you think you're mad or like whatever, like or when you wake up, whatever, it's like stretch your arms out like real wide, look up at the sky, and just like and smile as big as possible, or just like laugh or whatever. And it was like, now try and be mad. Like, are you mad or are you happy? And then it just like the correlation of how you can control your mood and your energy by doing certain things with your body physically or vocally, and how that is attached to good feelings. And you know what I mean? Just all the good stuff they don't teach you in school,
Yeah. You've got to do what you've got to do to take action at ultimately. Whether that is the music that you listen to, whether it is how you get out in the morning, going for runs in the mornings, waking up first thing in the morning, maybe before. Like I've got a young family, so a part of one of the things that I used to do is get up early before the kids get up, because I know as soon as the kids are up, things it was very busy at that point. So it was like, right, I'm going to wake up. This is our goals. This is what we want to do. Put some music on, be grateful, whatever works for you, and then get to it.
Yep.
Start doing stuff.
Yep. Very important, because when the kids get up, it's time to make pancakes.
Yeah, pancakes.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Well, thanks for joining me on the show. You can find Kevin, lifesuccessengineer.com, also Life Success Engineer on Instagram and on YouTube.
Correct.
And I think you might have Twitter. You got Twitter?
I've got Twitter as well. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not very active on Twitter, but I'm the most active on YouTube. I've got lots of different videos on there, sharing the journey, everything that we've done.
Tons of stuff. And if you're in the UK specifically, reach out with Kevin and connect, because he does. I believe you do like some free meetups, right, at your warehouse.
Yeah, we've actually got one this weekend. Yeah, I tried to open up the warehouse, invite people in. We get around in a circle. We do some masterminds in real life. It's great. It's
Awesome.
fantastic.
I would plug it, but this is pre-recorded, so by the time people see this, it's going to be over. So, but dude,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming on the show. I could have you on probably for like 10 more shows. We could talk forever and ever.
I just wanted to quickly say I'm really really grateful for your time, Reezy, and you are one of the most down to earth guys, real honest guys that I've been pleasure to meet, and yeah, looking forward to seeing you when you come down to London very very soon and hang out a little bit more.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, straight back at you, man, because I learned a lot from you. I'm actually making good money now off of my personal brand. And part of it is because of the kick in the pants that Kevin gave me when we met, when he was like, here's how much I'm making doing this, and you're freaking Reezy Resells. So you need to make some money. It's time. And I appreciate that, because like I said, shaming myself is just straight the way to success for me. I don't know why, but it is. With that being said, you know what we say around here, Kevin? If you ain't flipping,
You're slipping.
you slipping. Get in the game. Make some money online, guys. All right. We'll see you on next Monday's podcast or on the live show on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Reezy Resells, where you can catch the live shows at 6 Pacific time. Get your questions answered. And if you don't have time for videos, catch the podcast on your way to work on Monday mornings. Every Monday, we publish a new episode. Thanks for your time, guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Cheers.